Welcome, my beloved SS1 students, to your literature class with Miss Chinenye. Today, we're going to look at the topic poetry. Now, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to define poetry, know the types of poetry. You should be able to define poetry and know the types of poetry. Now, what is poetry? Poetry refers in totality to the deployment of certain devices such as figures of speech, feeling, emotion, rhyme, and rhythm, stanzaic divisions, subject matter in a body of words in order to express an idea of one's impression in a way that what is said attracts attention to itself, because no one may have said it in that manner before. Alright, please, I want you to pay apt attention as I take the definition of poetry again. Now, poetry refers in totality to the deployment of certain devices, such as figures of speech. You know what figures of speech is? Examples of figures of speech are simile, metaphor, personification, irony, and so on and so forth. Then, feeling, emotion, rhyme, rhythm, stanzaic divisions, subject matter in a body of words in order to express an idea of one's impression in a way that what is said attracts attention to itself, because no one may have said it in that manner before. Okay. Now let us quickly go to the types of poems. The types of poems. There are so many types of poems. We will take them one by one. The first type of poem that we'll look at today is lyric. We'll look at lyric as a type of poem. What is lyric? What is lyric? Okay, Chinedu Mark, pay attention. Fred, pay attention. Now, lyric is a short poem in which a speaker expresses some intense personal feeling. Now, in the medieval times, a lyric poem was sung to the accompaniment of the lyre. What is lyre? Lyre is an ancient musical instrument. But today, a lyric is a short musical or rhythmic poem, which expresses a poet's thoughts and emotions, or any matter that interests him or her. That is, any matter of interest to him or her. The matter of interest can be affection or love that the poet has for someone. Okay. The matter of interest can also be adventure. It can be adventure. Alright. Now that is it for lyric. The second one is the narrative poem. That's the second type of poem that we'll look at. Now the narrative poem is a type of poem that tells a tale. That tells a tale. What is a tale? A tale is a story. Okay? So the narrative poem tells a story. Now an example of the narrative poem is The Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost by John Milton. That's a typical example of the narrative poem that was written by John Milton in 1667. Now we have Ode. Another type of poem is Ode. Now this poem is called Ode, not Ode as you usually call it. Alright? It is a meditative poem which addresses itself to a person, or in which the good qualities of such a person or object are highlighted and commended. So I will say that an ode is a praise poem. It is a meditative poem which addresses itself to a person. It can also address itself to an object in which the good qualities of such a person or such object mentioned are highlighted and what? Commended. Alright, an example of the ode is William Wordsworth's Ode to Duty. That's a typical example of an ode poem. Now we have the pastoral poem. That's another type of poem, the pastoral poem. It is a poem which describes the simple life of rural people. The simple life of rural people, especially of shepherds, around whom are beauty, love, music, and values, which remain forever green in the mind. Okay? Now, the pastoral poem is a type of poem, as I said before, which describes the simple life of rural people, especially the shepherds. Now, they use it to express greenness. They use it to express the beauty of rural life. They use it to express love, music, and other things, values. Now, this poem opposes life in the city. This poem, the pastoral poem, opposes life in the city. It opposes the hustling and bustling of life in the city, as well as artificial lifestyle, in which ancient values are no longer what? Respected. So it opposes life in the city. It opposes artificial lifestyle, in which ancient values are no longer what? Respected. Alright. Now we will look at ballad. This is another type of poem. This is an anonymous narrative in verse form. An anonymous narrative in verse form, passed on from generation to generation by mere word of mouth, and meant to be sung and danced to before a crowd. Alright. So, a ballad, being an anonymous narrative, means that it has no known author. And then it is passed from generation to generation just by mere word of mouth. Okay. Now, it means that for ballads, your grandfather told your father, or your father in turn is telling you, or your grandfather sang ballad to your father, and your father in turn sang it to you. That is how a ballad poem passes on from generation to generation just by mere word of mouth. And it is meant to be sung and danced to before a crowd. Now, its subject often centers on tragic events such as sudden death by accident, treachery against a friend in love, war, or it can be sung during hunting expeditions. Now, the stanzas of a ballad are often short and concise. They are often short and concise, unlike its counterpart, epic, which is usually very long. A ballad is short and concise. The stanzas of a ballad is short and often concise. Now, another type of poem that we'll look at is sonnet. The sonnet poem. Now, a sonnet is a poem of 14 lines. It is a poem of what? 14 lines, whose rhythmic pattern is iambic pentameter. That is, each line of the 14 lines bears 5 alternating beats of an unstressed syllable, followed immediately by a stressed one. Okay? A typical example of a sonnet is William Shakespeare's Shall I Compare Thee to the Summer's Day? That's a typical example of a sonnet. William Shakespeare's poem, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? Now, another type of poem is epic. Now, epic is a long narrative poem. Now, as a long narrative poem, it celebrates real historical events. It celebrates heroic achievements, heroic figures, civilization brought into a particular society, foresee divine figures and such other subjects. Now, an epic is usually written in an elevated style and language. Now, an epic may be oral or written. If it is an oral epic, it is called primary epic. If it is a written epic, it is called the secondary epic. Now, an epic is usually conveyed in a grand style, and its setting is usually vast in scope. It doesn't have one setting or two settings. Unlike other types of poem, it usually is vast. Its settings are usually vast in scope. Alright. And sometimes its features are supernatural characters with supernatural deeds. These characters do extraordinary things. Okay? They do extraordinary things. That is why they are called the supernatural characters. Alright, another type of poem is limerick. Limerick is a type of poem with it is an unserious short poem of just 5 lines. These 5 lines have rhyme scheme. These 5 lines usually have rhyme scheme of A, B, B, A. Rhyme scheme of A, B, B, A. Now, its language is usually indecent, but characterized by wit. Now, it also refers to, or it can also be referred to as a nonsense verse because because of its preoccupation with rude words and indecent words, humor. You know what humor is? Humor is laughter. Alright. Now, anything that induces laughter is humorous. Now, another type of poem is lullaby. Lullaby. Now, a poem composed to be sung to children with a view to make them sleep. With the view to soothe children to sleep is known as what? Lullaby. Now, many lullabies for rocking babies exist in traditional African what? Society. For instance, we have, who sat and watched my infant head. That lullaby, you can see, when you start singing it to a baby, the baby will gradually go to sleep. Lullabies are used to soothe babies to sleep. Now, another type of poem we have is panegyric. Panegyric is a type of poem that is meant to eulogize heroic deeds or attributes. Heroic deeds or attributes of an individual or a group. It's a type of traditional poem. It may even be in praise of animals. or other entities. In praise of, it might be in praise of animals. Some animals that are totems to some societies, they use panegyric to eulogize these animals or any other entity with outstanding attributes. Okay, whether positive or what? Negative. Now, another type of poem is the blank verse or free verse. The blank verse or free verse. Now, this refers to a poem whose lines do not rhyme. Whose lines do not rhyme. You know what rhyme is? Rhyme is sameness in sound. So any poem that doesn't have sameness in its lines, that doesn't have rhyme is referred to as the blank verse, or to being the blank verse or free verse. It refers to as blank verse or free verse. It might have reading. You know what reading means? Reading means to make music, the musicality of a poem. Okay. Yet, it may have rhythm, yet it lacks regular rhyme scheme. You know that regular rhyme scheme of A, B, B, C, C, or A, B, and so on and so forth. Alright? It was originally composed in iambic what? Pentameter. Now, another type of poem that we'll look at is dirge. Now, dirge is a poem used to express grief on the occasion of someone's death. Now, this means that dirge is used to mourn the death. Dirge is song of sorrow, especially for the dead. Alright. An example of that is Kofi Awono's Song of Sorrow. That's a typical example of a dirge. Now, the last type of poem that we'll look at is the traditional poem. This is a term used in referring to any poem that is indigenous in form to the traditional African society. It may be in form of praise, it may be in form of chant, it may be dirge, and so on and so forth. So, having known all this, we'll call it a day today. I hope you understood. I hope you followed the lesson very well. And I hope you enjoyed the lesson. But before I go, let me give you something to do. You have to do this assignment of state and explain five types of poetry. Now, you don't just state, you explain as well. Don't use my exact words, the exact words that I use to explain to you. You have to use your own words. If you use my exact words, you won't get your accurate mark. So, you have to state and explain 5 types of poetry. Thank you, and see you in our next class.